Buongiorno a tutti. Today I'm going to explain a very common Italian word that we Italians use quite a lot, la parola vabbè. Many students catch vabbè used in real-life conversations or in movies or TV series, and so what they do is they try to grasp its meaning. It looks so very similar to va bene, which means okay in Italian, and yet it doesn't seem to be used that way at all. Now, a huge part of this confusion comes from the fact that vabbè is not a word that you will find in dictionaries or textbooks, because vabbè is a colloquialism, a very informal word that's only used in spoken everyday Italian. So, as always with this type of words, more than it's their literal meaning, it's important to understand their function and how they are used in real life. So, vabbè is a word that's used when we are reacting to something that someone says to express an emotion. And usually, that emotion is a sense of disappointment, resignation, or reluctant acceptance. That's the peculiarity, the peculiar functions of vabbè. So, let me show you how vabbè works in real life with some real life examples. Let's suppose that you are waiting for the train and the train is late. Il treno è in ritardo. Now, if you want to reply to this oh well, let's wait. Well, in Italian, that oh well, that feeling of accepting something that you cannot change and you cannot do anything about, that feeling is expressed with the word vabbè. So the way we will reply to that is vabbè, aspettiamo. So vabbè, aspettiamo in English would translate to, oh well, let's wait. You're accepting something that you cannot change. Now, another example is this. Let's suppose you are having a conversation with someone and they touch on a topic that you are not very happy to talk about. If you want to move the conversation away from the topic, you can use vabbè to express that. So, for example, you may want to say, anyway, let's talk about something else. In Italian, you can say, vabbè, parliamo d'altro. Anyway, let's talk about something else. This way, you're using vabbè to close the topic and move to another. But I want you to notice that if you use vabbè for this, you show the other person, you let the other person know that you are not entirely happy about that topic, so that's why you don't want to talk about it. Another example, let's suppose that you want to go out for a walk, fare una passeggiata. But the problem is that the weather is not that great. So, for example, it's cold. Today is cold. So, fa freddo oggi. So, it's not the ideal condition for una passeggiata, per una passeggiata. But you know what? You want to get out anyway. So, you want to say, well, let's go out anyway. In this case, you can still use vabbè. You can say, vabbè, usciamo lo stesso. Vabbè, usciamo lo stesso. So that would be, well, let's go out anyway. In this case, we're using vabbè because it's like you are accepting again a situation that you cannot change, but you accept it and move on. So even though it's not the ideal condition for having a passeggiata, you still go out and have it. Now, I would like to know if you have ever heard vabbè and it made you feel a little bit confused, or if there's any other Italian word that always confuses you. Let me know in the comments. Now, going back to the examples, the key point that I want you to focus is this. Vabbè does not have one fixed translation. It's a reaction word that expresses a feeling of not being exactly happy about something. That's all. That's what all these phrases have in common. Vabbè means you accept it, but you're not enthusiastic about it. Now, this is the key to understand the difference between vabbè and va bene. Two words that look so similar to each other, but they have a very different meaning, especially a very different emotion. Per esempio, if someone tells you something like, let's take a little bit more space, domani, domani ceniamo con Domani ceniamo con Luca e Anna. Tomorrow we're going to dine with Luca and Anna. Now, whether you use vabbè or you use va bene actually depends on the emotional meaning of your answer, of your reply. So if you reply va bene, that means it's okay, it's fine. It can also be pretty enthusiastic. So va bene, okay. But if you reply vabbè, okay, vabbè, that means all right, but it has a strong meaning of feeling resigned. So the one that you will pick will really depend a lot on Luca and Anna. If you're happy to see them, then you can say va bene. But if you're not that happy about that, then you will see, oh, vabbè, okay, let's do this, but I'm not happy about it. So va bene and vabbè will look similar, but they are pretty different in meaning and especially in the emotion they communicate. And by the way, if you want to see more real life examples with vabbè, check out the PDF I prepared for this video. In the PDF, you will find a helpful recap of the different functions of vabbè, plus more example sentences like the ones that I showed you today. If you want to get the PDF, you can immediately download it. You can find the link in the description below this video, and it's free. Now, something else that I want to share with you about vabbè. Surprisingly, vabbè can also be used to express a strong surprise. In this case, it's actually used together with no. I know, it feels strange, but I'm going to explain this in a moment. Let's suppose someone tells you a piece of news that's pretty surprising for you. For example, hai sentito che Giulia si è trasferita in Australia? Hai sentito che Giulia si è trasferita in Australia? Did you hear that Julia moved to Australia? And you're like, wow, I didn't know that. No way. I cannot believe it. I don't believe it. Well, you can express that feeling of surprise that you express with no way in English with vabbè. But in this case, we usually add a no before it. So we would say, no, vabbè. No, vabbè, non ci credo. So that's the equivalent of saying, no way, I don't believe it. So you can also use vabbè for surprise reaction, but in this case, usually we use the no before it. No, vabbè. So remember, the key to understanding vabbè is not its translation, it's the attitude, the emotion that you want to express. And I hope I explained all the nuances of emotions that you can express with this word. E questo è tutto per oggi. Ci vediamo al prossimo video. Ciao da Valentina.